Hello friends, thank you for joining me today. Welcome back to my channel. I am stoked to be doing this video because I have completed my first reading challenge, which is the Owl Crate reading challenge. This was inspired by this bookmark that I got in one of my earliest boxes, and I think that I actually filmed an unboxing video for that one that this came in, so if I did, then I'll link it below and somewhere on the video. So there is a prompt for each letter in the word Owl Crate, and I'll go ahead and read them off to you. So we have O for Own Voices, W for Winner of a Literary Award, L for Last Book in a Series, C for Comic or Graphic Novel, R for Reread a Favorite, A for Audiobook, T for Tome, which is over 500 pages, they say in parentheses, and E for Epistolary Novel. Reading challenges and readathons scare me a little bit because the ones I've seen generally put like a time window and expectation on, when and what I need to read. Well, I mean, obviously what I need to read, but I am generally a mood reader. I don't really like to commit to reading something too far ahead because who knows if I will actually feel like reading that thing when the designated time comes. So for this, I put no time window on it. I would just complete it when I complete it. And I liked that this, it didn't list any specific genre or anything. So I feel like this just kind of gave me the freedom to go at my own pace and read what I want to read, with a bit of guidance. But I did choose books, in advance for this, despite what I just said, so that I could at least, have an option in mind when I filmed the video, when I announced that I would be doing this challenge, and I did end up sticking to those choices, so that was cool. So in order of the letters in Owl Crate, these are the books that I read, along with what I rated them, and I'm also gonna try and give like the briefest, most condensed summary I can manage of what it's about. I read The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, which I gave 3 stars. So this is a West African inspired YA fantasy where a girl named Decca discovers that she is an Alaki, which is a girl with kind of special gifts that make her very powerful, and she is taken to the capital of her country to fight for her emperor, and discovers that her mother, who passed away, is more than she thought she was, and she's trying to kind of figure out, what happened to her. Then I read The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, and I gave that 5 stars. This is a middle grade paranormal fantasy about a boy named Nobody Owens who grows up in a graveyard being raised by ghosts. Each chapter is sort of its own contained story, kind of like an anthology, but there is an overarching plot involving a man called Jack, who was responsible for killing Nobody's family in the first place. Then I read A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. I gave this 5 stars. This is the last book in the Shades of Magic trilogy where there are several parallel worlds to ours with different levels of magic, and each contains a city called London that's located geographically in the same place between all the worlds, and this includes our regular world, and it takes place in like the 1800s. So you mainly follow a princely blood magician named Kel and a regular street urchin girl named Lila as they travel between worlds trying to save the various worlds from a dangerous force. And as the last book, this was, the culmination of all of that and more. Then I read Monstress Volume 5, which is called War Child by Marjorie Liu and illustrated by Sana Takeda, and I gave this 4 stars. This series takes place in an Asian 1900s steampunk matriarchal fantasy world where humans and creatures called Arcanics are on the brink of war with each other. The main character is Micah Halfwolf, and she is an Arcanic who discovers that she has a connection to a creature that's called a monstrum that lives inside of her, and she is searching for answers about her deceased mother, and this is volume 5, so pretty far into the story. And then there's Full Tilt by Neil Shusterman. I gave this 5 stars. This is a middle grade horror fantasy, about a boy named Blake who has to rescue his younger brother Quinn from a phantom carnival. Blake and his friends basically have to survive 7 carnival rides before dawn arrives to escape with their souls, and each ride is based on a deep personal fear. And then there's Legendborn by Tracy Dion, and I gave this 5 stars. So this is a YA fantasy that takes place in modern day at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the main character, Bree Matthews, witnesses a shadowborn demon attack during a party, which leads to her infiltrating a magical secret society called the Order of the Round Table, which is based on Arthurian legend. And she gets involved with the Legendborn, who are the highest ranked in this society, and gets, embroiled in the protection of humanity from the Shadowborn, while also trying to uncover how her mother's death might have some connection to the Legendborn. Then I read Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I gave this 4 stars. This is the 4th book in the epic fantasy series called the Stormlight Archive, following like a big ensemble cast of characters in the world of Roshar. And this planet is plagued by huge weather events called high storms that influence the people and cultures there. There are several magical elements and a detailed magic system. And the series, starts off with the assassination of a king, which kicks off war between people. And there's lots of, discovering truths and relearning things that have been lost in cinematic action scenes. Very hard to summarize this huge series so quick, and I definitely can't say much about this specific book because it's book 4. And lastly, I read Illuminate by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and I gave this 5 stars. So this is a YA sci-fi about a girl named Katie and her ex-boyfriend Ezra, who escape an attack on their planet, and she is rescued onto one ship and he is brought onto another, and they have to work together to figure out what's happening when one of the ship's AI starts to act suspiciously, and also a scary virus breaks out on one of the ships, and the people in charge aren't telling anyone what's going on. Whew. Okay, so I filmed reviews for all of these books individually, so if you want to hear my full thoughts, please check them out. I will link those in the description, as well as links to my Goodreads reviews for all of those. And because book stats are fun, I think they're fun, I threw together a couple little charts to provide some visual interest. And overall, it was a great reading experience, as you can see. So I gave 5 books the max rating of 5 stars, and then 2 4 stars and 1 3 star. So I didn't read anything that I actively really disliked or that I had major qualms about. I went into this hoping to like all of them, so I'm glad that ended up being the case. Then I have a graph comparing page count for all of these books. One of them, Legendborn, I listened to as an audiobook, but I pulled the number from a hardcover edition through Goodreads. And I mean, as you can see, Rhythm of War just blows everything else out of the water. It's kind of ridiculous, a lot of pages. And then, unsurprisingly, the comic book graphic novel has the least number of pages. As for how long it took me to complete this challenge, for simplicity's sake, I will just consider the day I started reading, my first book I chose, which was Rhythm of War, as the day that I started, which was May 13th, 2021. And the day I finished would be the day I finished the last book, which ended up being Legendborn, which I finished on October 20th, 2021. So overall, it took me just over 5 months to read the 8 books to complete this challenge. So that's a long time. But you know, I purposefully put no time limit on this. I wanted to see how long it would take me with, you know, no expectations on myself aside from just, you know, completing it. If I had put more active pressure on myself, I'm positive I could have finished, you know, several months sooner. But like imagining reading all of those books in 1 month, for example, is not realistic for me. According to Goodreads, the most number of books I've read in 1 month is 9. And I've only done that twice since I joined the site in 2017. And both of the times that I did that, at least 3 of the books were graphic novels that I could read in a day or 2. You know, not that those don't count, of course, but I have many more just traditional novels than I do graphic novels to choose from. It was a very satisfying challenge to do, and you know, it made me reach for a few books that I probably would have put off just for another year or 2 otherwise. The most painstaking part for me has been finding the desire and opportunity to record reviews for all of the books. I've said this many times before, I review on Goodreads everything I read, you know, within a day of finishing a book, but it takes me a lot more energy and the right mindset for me to, you know, set up and record and edit a video. Hence why I finished this challenge. I finished this challenge last October, and I'm only now recording this in February. And even though I approach this from a very casual perspective, it still has given me a better idea of what it would look like for me to participate in a reading challenge or a readathon, you know, anything like that in the future. Even if that just means making more TBRs and trying to stick to them. I've made a TBR, you know, for myself during the months where making a TBR is ridiculously easy, like reading spooky and witchy books in October or reading romance in February. It's fun to have a little pile of books that you can point at and say, you know, you're going to be reading these, versus how I normally pick books, which is to stare at my shelves and plastic tubs of books for half an hour each time I finish a book, trying to make a decision for myself for the next one. So let me know if you've participated in any readathons or challenges, and you know, if they were themed, what sort of rules there were, time limits, stuff like that. If there are any challenges that, you know, recur every year that you always do that you like, let me know. I'm sure I know there are quite a few that happen every year. Maybe I'll consider participating, you know, if I find one that fits my reading style and schedule. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to me chat about this months-long experience. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!